looking for the joy and the peace you've been missing, it starts in your mind. Yeah. Say you want that love, that forgiveness and healing, it starts in the mind. 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 With Jerry.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the It Starts in Your Mind podcast with Jerry Owens. I am with the lovely Coach K, and we have an amazing topic we want to talk to you about today. We want to deal with the upcoming transformation conference we have, and we want to get you ready for what's to come. And so we want to deal with transformation of self, and I don't think there's no better one to have this discussion with than Coach K, who constantly is a pusher for one to develop themselves, to know themselves. And so I wanted to start this dialogue with her. Why is that so passionate for you?
Passionate for me for self and being aware that transformation is knowing what you're capable of. When you don't know what you're capable of, there's oftentimes we settle in our mind, body, and souls. And I think for me, it's always wanting something. I was always felt wanting more. Are you ever satisfied? And I am, but I'm never satisfied just staying in one spot, mentally, especially, emotionally.
You know, when you think about it, it made me think, why is there such a great need? I think in the world we're living in now, where so many people lost themselves. The world is not conducive for one to walk in with security, to walk in with self-esteem. I always mention that the greatest influence in one's life begins with their parents. How does that affect someone's security of self when they have not had somebody to pour into themselves?
Well, the awkward silence that one really partakes in is when you realize that I don't know what I think I'm supposed to do. So the first step is really understanding where you are and where you come from. I think what the world secularly we have found out is that we discover our truths, we discover where we come from, and then we get mad or we get embarrassed and we get stunted. When in actuality, that should be a push that because of where I come from, they only gave me what they had. And so once you have that and the self of transforming, I want to be better. And because I want to be better, I don't have time to blame, but because I come from there, I have to realize that I may be socially awkward, I may be stunted emotionally, that I may not have diversity creatively because I've not seen anything. And we cannot think past what we've never even been able to imagine.
You know, I think one of the hardest things is to acknowledge that you've been people have failed you, you've been dropped, you didn't get what you were supposed to get, you've been let down, isolated, rejected, whatever it is that now makes up the person you are now. I think it's really challenging when somebody has to look at a reality and say, this is who I am. This is where I am. This is what I've become. And one of the challenges, and I want you to speak to that, is also recognizing I'm this without blaming who ushered me into this person. I think that's hard because we always need somebody to blame for where we are. And this is going to be amazing. That's why you got to be at the Transformation Conference, because Coach K is going to deal with this subject with intensity that's going to cause people to develop who they are. So how do you, just whet that appetite, how do you sit in what you become without blaming the people who have put you into that place?
Well, that's a growth process. There's layers, there's levels to healing. And I think the first one is to identify, recognize, and own that this is my truth. not many people like to sit still. Not many people want to deal with the truth. And I always say, in order to heal, you have to deal. And dealing is looking in the mirror and saying, this is who I am. This is what I have to work with. And because ain't no other one but me, I got to be the best version of me. And so that comes with growth. And like I said, everyone needs a leader, a pastor, a mentor, a community leader, someone. It's been someone who has sparked something on the inside of you that says like, wow, I admire them for. I see, I desire. There's nothing wrong with that. I think the next step is then, what is it that you desire for yourself?
See, I think what I've been in church a long time, and what I think the church has done is it has skipped my truth to lead me directly to the truth.
Right.
And I think my truth should lead me to the truth, but I can't skip my truth.
Absolutely.
So when you skip, what I mean by that is, we know that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. We know that undoubtedly, no question, no argument. The truth is Christ. But if I don't acknowledge my truth, then I skip the reality of where I am and jump into Christ being the truth. But I haven't dealt with what I've become.
Right.
So now that gets people pretending in church. Pretend I'm healed, pretend I'm delivered, pretend I'm more than a conqueror because I see other people doing it. But it doesn't work until I acknowledge my truth. So speak to that a little bit of, I am acknowledging or understanding my truth, but it ultimately should lead me to the truth.
Absolutely. I think that's where, when you pushed me to then venture out and Matt was birthed, it was because I was always asking, what is the distance from the people in the pews to the pulpit to be able to congregate?
There is a distance.
What that word is. And that's why, even though we're this renewed creature with this renewed mind, I don't know what to deal with the self that I walked down the aisle to give up. And now I have this newness. What do I do with this newness? I need to be able to apply this good news with the old stuff of where I come from. And that's why I think that there are so many of us, especially as believers, who are so full of discontent and dismay because I'm trying to do this. And that's where the weariness comes in, because now I'm trying to do it based on what I see everybody else doing, not based on who I am.
Facts, that's exactly.
Of who God created me to be. And I think that individuality should be promoted more from leaders to be able to say, God called you for you. Like, the oil is on Christy, not the title. So Christy has to learn how to be the best version of her in him and then be able to evangelize. I think that's what's missing with evangelism.
I think Transformation Conference is going to merge 2 or 3 generations together. At this conference, I think there's going to be a mixture of the old, the new, and right in the middle. Young adults are a passion for me, so this is why some of these questions are coming to mind, because they want to know. When I first came to church, I bypassed my truth and jumped directly into seeing what the saints of old were doing. They shout, I gotta find me a shout.
Right.
It wasn't organic, it was, I found one.
They had on them 3
They,
pieces.
they speak in tongues, let me find me a tongue. It didn't come out of just, I gotta find what they have. I wanted better.
Yes.
It was pure, it was authentic, but because there wasn't a how-to and a dealing with my truth, sometimes many of us just start copying what we see. And so now you get a generation who copies, but then the problem is I found out theirs wasn't authentic. So I found out their real life wasn't that way, and it messed me up to realize that they have flaws that they never talked about in church. And so since they didn't talk about it, it messed up my faith and my belief. But I think the reality is, if they would have said, oh, this is this is where I am now, but this ain't where I've been. This is what God brought me from. Here's my truth. Here's what I struggle with every day. Here's what I snatch down. Here's where I have to get my mind together. I have to cast down these imaginations. They're to talk about that. It would have drew me in closer and even more intently to look at it and say, wow, you have that struggle. So I think a lot of people wonder why I have such a huge transparency about where I am now, where I were, and I don't care. And even what I am still struggling with is because that's how people really get free. Jesus became our kinsman redeemer. Kin, relative, kinfolk.
Yes.
And he became my kinfolk so that I can look and say, we have, relativity. You can't redeem who you don't relate to.
Right.
So I think listen, shameless plug, you gotta be at Coach K's workshop. I'm telling by experience because I've been in her class for 13 years. I'll help me, but I've been in her class for 13 years and she won't let me graduate. And she is one of those pushers who help you to get to where you need to be. What are some of the things they can really look forward to coming out of your class? It's gonna be really a mini map class. So what are some of the things, just without giving everything away, that they're going to experience, they're going to see, just to whet their appetite?
Well, I say because I have so much hope and faith for this generation to cut the fat off of everything that's been presented to us, and let's not worry about that. Let's come in, let's deal with the truth of where we are right now. Because transformation cannot take place until we decide this is what I'm sitting in here to transform. And so I think to be able to take home is, I'm okay already. I am enough, but there's always room for growth. And so it takes one who is bold enough that can handle trigger K, because yes, it is. Everybody can't handle being pushed. And so we have to be okay with knowing that in order to be better, you have to think better. It really does start in your mind. Mindset. Come looking forward to, I don't want to stay where I am. Even though where I am is okay, but I'm trying to go to the next level. And my next level is not your next level. My next level is where it is that I
That's so
need to
good
be.
you said that, because I think when people come into the house of God, we generally give people one level to get to. Like, if you ain't there, you ain't got it. We give people one stage, one platform, one dimension, and everybody grows differently. Everybody develops differently.
I think that that's why this culture is looking for other ways to go up.
Oh, yeah,
So that's why
there's only one way, Christ.
Absolutely.
But the Bible says we go from faith to faith.
Faith,
So that
right,
doesn't mean it's levels.
right, there's definitely levels, and the fact that we as a whole, the body kingdom, we haven't introduced and let it be okay that when you come as you are, seriously, and let the atmosphere, let the people be able to invite, like when you come in, you're here. There's nothing about how you smell like Jamaica, how you look like wherever, you're enough. But coming here,
What does Jamaica smell like?
like past the Dutchie,
Oh,
okay.
God, yeah.
But still, it's to know that we're not perfect. That's why everyone is saying like, but church people. See, we have taken that stigma and we've made it be like it's a trophy, when in all actuality, that's not inviting for those who are outside looking in, because they want in. They just don't want the falsities. They don't want the perfection. No, who wants no perfect people allowed? That as it should be. And we should stop presenting it, meaning just because I'm not there anymore does not make me ever forget where I come from. So I could say, baby, I understand. Come on in, sit down. Now you're gonna get something new. You're gonna get something different, but it's with love and grace and understanding.
Well, as we kind of wrap this, I'm thinking like our greatest message is love. Jesus said, they'll know you're my disciples by the love you have one for another. And when you think about that, It's interesting. I was talking to someone and I said, the scripture clearly tells us to love the Lord thy God with all your heart, all your mind, your soul, and your neighbor as yourself. People think just because self is last in that statement, that self should come last. But the reality is that tongue should get. But the reality is, I don't think self should come last. People, I would argue this. I think self comes first.
That's good.
People would think loving God comes first, but loving self comes first, because when I love myself, then I love God with everything that I have. I can't give the Lord all of me until I love all of me. So once I love myself, loving myself is how I treat myself, how I give myself empathy, how I'm compassionate with myself, how I challenge myself, how I take care of myself. These are all self-care, self-love type situations. When I understand that, now I will be giving God my best. We think I need to give love to God without even knowing what love is.
But those are things to where, like, even go to say self comes first. But what if I don't love myself, but I do know that I want God? So then when I come in, it still goes back to self being first. Even my dirty self, even my resentful self, even my angry self, to know that God still wanted me.
Yeah.
He still chose me.
Yeah.
So I got to do some work and investigation for myself.
Yes.
And so that's what they're going to get coming into Coach K's session.
You know, so when you're thinking about loving yourself, self-love, I think like even as you're, a psychology student, and the thing that's amazing is I think they're going to get well-rounded. We have a great mixture of people coming to, speakers that are coming, bring their perspective. Grace is in. I think this is your grace to deal with the natural aspect of a person loving themselves and developing themselves. It's going to be amazing. You don't want to miss September 7th through 9th. We're going to have an amazing time, day sessions, evening sessions. It's going to be life-changing. You need to go register now at the link that you see on your screen, of the link at the end of this podcast. It will do yourself a favor to register now. It's going to be life-changing. There's more to come on the It Starts With Your Mind podcast. I'm Jared D. Owens. This is Coach K. God bless you. Have an amazing day.
It starts in the mind
with Jerry.